If and when we do, there's a bit of a lag, I know. So if it does pop up, then I will see us about, 30 seconds to a minute ahead.
Okay. It says we're live and it says view on LinkedIn if I want to.
Try that.
All right. Continue on LinkedIn. Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's see.
Oh,
Oh,
I think we are live.
amazing.
We're good. We're live, Mindy. Welcome, everyone.
Amazing. It does say that. It does say that. So, welcome.
We are here, Mindy and I, both co-founders of Alt HR Hive, and we are here in our LinkedIn Live to talk about creating workplace signal loops for forward motion. Lindsay, we can see your comment. Thank you so much for that and that feedback. So let's go ahead and get us kickstarted. Are you ready, Mindy?
Yes, I am ready. I am here right with you.
Okay, awesome. Great. Glad to hear it. I started to panic. So, okay, let's talk about.
I think there's a delay.
Is there between me and you? Well, this should be super fun then. Hi, Lindsay. Okay, so a little housekeeping for today. We really don't have housekeeping. We're just doing a LinkedIn Live. We hope that you enjoy, you learn, kind of get up to date on some of the things that Mindy and I are up to and learn a little more about the signal loop, which we're really excited to share with you today. Throw your comments in there. If you're here and you're watching live, I would love to get your name, where you're signing in from, and let us know any of the heat or friction that you're feeling in your organization, and perhaps we can get to it if we have time at the end, or just ask questions, comments, whatever's on your mind. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so we are going to talk about how we got here today. So Mindy and I met, quite a few years ago. We're both recovering chief people officers, as Mindy likes to call it, and we both have 26 plus years in human resources and people operations. So we are practitioners. We're right in that HR and people ops seat with you, and we flew around each other's orbit for quite a few years. We've been on the same webinars. We talk the same language. We laugh probably too loud at each other's jokes sometimes. It's like, I get this person, right? And so there was a moment where Mindy had written a post or a comment, and I reached out to her and I was just like, hey, this really resonates with me. We talk about people, ecosystems, and holistic, design of our organizations. And she said, hey, I've been thinking about doing a mastermind. What do you think? Do you want to join forces? And that's how Catalytic Culture was born. Catalytic Culture was a workshop where it was a bit of our testing ground. We invited more people than people that bought it. But what we did was learn how to eat our own dog food, so to speak. So the one thing that we learned from this group is there is power in communication, and our work lives are messy. We don't have a lot of time to be focusing on these huge, messy frameworks and these big strategic initiatives. A lot of times our voices are muted, whether it's by our leadership team, our environment, or our day-to-day. And so it was during this time where we had this 3-month workshop that Alt HR Hive was born, and we kept having a lot of great conversations. And Mindy, I'm going to kick it to you to talk about some of those conversations that we had during that time that brought us to where we are today.
Thank you, Marnie. And hopefully with this delay, you can hear me, because I think I look frozen.
Yeah, I thought you were just really concentrating on me, but I can hear you just fine.
You made me laugh, and then it forever froze. And it's like I'm about to hit my head on a mic. You're going to love it. This is us. This is Mindy and Marnie at our best.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes frozen is best.
Yeah, and sometimes frozen is our best. And yeah, I mean, the conversations that really that came out of catalytic culture and beyond really started to take on some common themes. We really started to hear some common stuck moments where HR leaders and professionals were having challenges around being able to really feel any true progress forward, being lost in the trees, not being able to get a chance to even take a breath to see the forest through the trees, trying to really do the day-to-day and the operational like elements and move from activity and transactional work to up level it to where it needed to be within the strategic conversation of how work gets done, and the walls that were just coming up in their ability to be able to enter into that conversation for so many reasons, which really kept them in this reaction mode, which really kept them wanting to start the day to get to the things that they needed to, but ending up back into the same rut of just doing those transactional activities. But the challenge is that those are the very things that if they had the chance to be proactive to solve some of those root cause problems, then they wouldn't have those day-to-day fires to put out. And so they also were speaking to, I bet there's other friction creating fires in the organization, but I don't even have time to investigate. I don't even have time to seek out to understand how other areas of friction are showing up within the workplace ecosystem. I am just trying to get through my day. I'm just trying to be able to get to spend time with my family and just this overwhelming sense of burnout and all of that starting to get internalized to doubt, and even to the point of like, I can't do this, and am I good at this anymore? Which we became really passionate about. How do we really equip and elevate the function in this great time of uncertainty to be able to get out of the ruts, to get to a foundational place where change can actually happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that was really what for me was huge and eye-opening, is there's just so much out there, right? And there's a lot that we could lean into and learn, but how do we make this digestible, and how do we equip and empower people that we've been in that seat? We understand what it feels like to feel like you're swimming without an anchor or without a life vest, and how to move forward. So let's talk about the loop. Okay. So, we talked about all the conversations that we were having, and then Minnie and I sat down and had just a working session one day. It's like, okay, let's talk about everything that we've been talking about, because we spewed all of this stuff out to the community that we had and all of that. But what's the one thing that we could help the HR profession move forward with? Look, there's nothing new here that we wanted to create. Mindy is an expert in human-centered design. We've all been trained in a dozen different frameworks over the years. There's change management. A lot of HR folks you're the key to change management in your organization. The problem isn't that there's not enough frameworks and how to do these things out there. The problem is there's probably too much out there, and it gets really overwhelming. So we wanted to distill this down into a business mindset, and that's what we want to keep priming you. This is a business mindset. It doesn't pull you too far out of your day-to-day whirlwind. It's a muscle that we're learning within our organization to throw on that strategy and leadership cap without taking you too far out of keeping the lights on. So Mindy, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to kind of go over the signal loop, what it is, and let's get down to brass tacks and start talking about the loop.
Let's go.
Okay.
All right. The signal loop is 6 beautiful steps, phases that we get to walk through. And what I love about this is what we were often seeing and what we kind of spoke to is there are areas of friction showing up within our organization that are starting to create heat. Think of two sticks rubbing together that are starting, they haven't started a fire yet, but we're starting to feel the heat that they're generating. And often when HR leaders start to feel that heat, there's some early responses that they're having and that they shared with us. It was, we already spoke to, there's just so much going on that has my attention. I'm not even aware. I have to ignore it because I have so many other things that I have to get to. Or there's a freezing. I am so overwhelmed. How do I even manage this? Or maybe in some instances, I'm just going to run away from that conversation right now.
Yep.
There also the sense of quickly solutioning assumptions where we are, sensing the heat and we're seeing it and labeling it as resistance. And then we're seeing resistance and labeling it as bad within organizations, such as when we really look to AI readiness and that conversation of AI adoption. You can think about any change within organizations and the readiness for that change. The resistance is often labeled as bad. And then we start going down a pathway based on assumption that a behavior is bad, which we often know could lead to performance conversations and down a very different path of which is solutioning, but we don't have all the information. So if we take a step back, what's the beauty about Signal is it gives us that breath. It gives us that quick moment that when we see that heat, instead of jumping, let's say in this example of change adoption, let's say AI readiness, we don't move automatically to see this heat as resistance and bad. We start to get curious. We start to really, understand, okay, where's this heat coming from? What's the source of the friction? What is the data that I need to start to gather to help to understand this? And now we move into investigate mode. Now we get curious. Where is the resistance to AI showing up? Is it showing up across the organization? Is it within pockets of the organization? How are employees feeling? Do I know how they're feeling about this? How are we currently measuring, if at all, adoption and AI readiness? Have we communicated that? Do we have clarity of AI governance and where employees can or cannot use AI? Is there confusion? Is there shared language around this? Really starting to gather the data. If we are, measuring, how are we measuring that? Where are we measuring that? What is the data showing? That all of that information and those conversations to help provide context to the data start to help us generate hypothesis. They start to help us understand where are the opportunities that we might be able to change, to shift from problem to possibility, to an opportunity to move forward, to move to heat, to generate positive outcomes. Because that's the beauty of this. By actually going through Signal, we start to handle and dialogue things like the friction and resistance in a way that create positive catalytic change. Whereas when we don't, that's when the heat creates a fire. Yep. And so by understanding the opportunity statements, we can then choose one of those opportunity statements to then say, if I do this, then I imagine this would happen. I believe this to be then true. It's that scientific method. And then we start to be able to think, okay, how do I design a quick test, not a 6-month program or a project, a quick test, a pilot that would help me understand, is this hypothesis true or not? And then being able to then align humans, to align people around who's going to be impacted by doing this test, who needs to be involved to help me with this test, because I don't have to own this on my own. I probably need others, especially if it's with regarding AI, How do I bring my IT leader in with this? How do I bring others along to do this pilot? Then how do I then actually, once I have the test designed, how do I deliver that test? How do I launch it? How do I, work to communicate? And this is all these elements of good change management, right? And then once we have delivered that and we've given it a period of time to actually see if it works or not, I think that's often missed too. Like
Yep.
understanding how long is it going to take to understand, is this hypothesis true or not? Often we're so quick, oh, that didn't work. And it's like, well, how long did we give it? Did we understand how long that would take? Because like that's a really good question too when you're designing your test. And then afterwards, it's about learning. And that's the L. This is where we get to understand, did that test, what did we learn from that? Did it work or not? Did it move the needle in the way that we expected it to? Because whenever we drop change, there's going to be unexpected things that happen.
Right.
And so what did or didn't work? So let's say if we didn't have AI measures of success and we thought that was going to help with our adoption, and we start with measuring, AI readiness is going to be around, how many people start to show up at within a team at our Friday. Let's say we have a Friday AI lunch and learn where we start to share about how we're experimenting in our week with AI. Well, how many people are showing up? How many people are actually engaging? How many people are taking week over week what they're experimenting with further? I mean, there's different ways, right, in which we can measure that. And then how do we take that test? If we determined that it was good, how do we then take the goodness out of that to then design the next step? Like, do we want to introduce that to other teams? And then further, do we want to do that organizational wide? And so that is one example, very micro in nature, about how you would use Signal and step through these 6 steps.
Yeah, and what's really interesting too is like you had mentioned sometimes that learning piece, you're learning things that you didn't know it's not binary, right? So you're learning things that it's like, oh, I didn't know that was even a variable as a part of my original hypothesis. So that's really interesting. And that can actually birth another loop, right? Of this was a learning that we have. And oh, well, this is another small test that we ought to run.
And yes, and we're also building in so much more muscle in here that we can apply elsewhere, right? Like, so let's say we're already in the midst of something and we didn't have Signal before, but we just launched something, and now you have L. Now you have the muscle of L. Like, so how do we just learn from what happened and have the language of doing a retrospective with a group of individuals to say, yeah, what went well, what didn't go well, and what do we carry forward, what do we not carry forward? And if we do take an iterative step of change in this, what is there anything that we should do now, or do we need to revisit in 3 to 6 months? I mean, there's so much goodness in all of these very fluid steps, which I think, Marnie, you're going to share with us here in a minute.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So are you talking about that, like turning it into like, again, it's not a ladder, it's a loop, and it's a loop for a reason. Yeah. And so what we mean by that is you really, based on the Signal loop itself, is a lot of actually common sense, right? That a lot of us as business leaders, we already know, but sometimes it's a matter of creating that discipline and that understanding of this is the typical process that we would go through when we hit friction or heat. And that's walk through these steps. It's a great self-reminder, and you're building a muscle, right? But as you know, not everything is sequential in the world of work, in the world of humans, etc. And that's why we want to reiterate that but this is a loop, not a ladder. So you basically can start where you are. You can start at any point. Mid-mess counts. Like you can be like, no, I already learned that piece. I already have a bit of a hypothesis. Or maybe I have to take a step back in the loop. Like we got in and we're gathering the stakeholders. I'd come out with a performance feedback process for a client of mine a year ago. And we got all the way down to the bring in the humans piece. And they were like, ooh, yeah, no, this isn't resonating well with us as a leadership team. And I was like, okay, ooh, we need to go back a step. And I need to take that data and head back to a different opportunity statement. So go back to where you need to. And you want to start small on purpose. And the reason we say start small is because if it's like the old way of software engineering where it was like that waterfall method where you plan out an entire software program and you build it out and then you do quality testing and you release it. That was back in the early 2000s and that worked just fine. But today is moving way too stinking fast for us to focus on these very large strategic initiatives. And so that's why we want to say start small. That brings agility to these loops, right? You have one variable, you can A/B test it, you can bring it in and you can adjust. And that makes you more agile as a people leader.
I mean, Marnie, I love that you just said that because it's so important. How many of us want to go back when the stream is moving so it feels like a force that we don't even have control of like, we're just going with it. We're caught in this like rushing river that's moving forward and we're out of control. That's how often it lands on me when we're speaking with HR leaders. And Signal gives you that ability to anchor in, to actually say, you know what, I have the oars of this boat and I actually am stronger than the force of this river. And I have the ability to be able to go back because now I have a language that I can use. I have something that helps me be able to pause and ask questions, to anchor into human dialogue and connectedness, to be able to, think through, maybe this isn't the right time right now for this. Maybe there's something else that we learn that has greater heat that's about to cause a fire, whereas that we learned through this, but we need to go back because it's adjacent and we need to learn more about it. So maybe we have to go back all the way to investigate a deeper heat that is coming that we didn't see before, but because of this process, we're learning about it.
Yep. Absolutely. And then you can, to your point, you can get to I and investigate and be like, this really isn't heat. And so that kind of brings me to the next slide, if you don't mind me moving forward. We can always go back.
This is great. I like it when we're not scripted because we're better.
I know, like jumping in, but we're to the geek out stage. So what I love about this though is you can get back and you could be like, this really isn't a problem, right? But if we're prioritizing as a company and you're saying, the flavor of tea that we have in the break room is not the right flavor, that's not a loop, right? So you can honestly get into a step and be like, yeah, we're going to put a pin in that, or we're going to put in the parking lot. But where the signal loop is really interesting is you bring it to the rest of your team, and it is that common vocabulary and that common nomenclature to whether it's your HR team internally that you may or may not be leading. It's your language with your leadership team. Maybe you are an HR professional of one, and you need to understand how to communicate in a way that your COO is communicated, that your chief product officer is communicating, that the people in your product operations are communicating. And that is from problem solving to possibility solving. And that's, I think, the biggest part of the signal loop. And that's the biggest mindset shift that we're really focusing on with the signal loop for the HR and the people professionals in the room. And what I mean by that is you get to a moment as the people person for your organization where you're expected to have answers, or at least you think that you're expected to have answers at all times. And there's one moment, there's a precipice where you can become true strategic business leader or revert to the day-to-day order taking. And that is when that heat comes up, when that friction comes up, or they say something is wrong. We have an employee engagement survey where we scored low on this. We go right into problem solving, right? We want to fix things. We're human. We want people to be happy. We want our leadership to be happy. But this is where it gets really interesting, is we have to start asking more possibility solving asks, like what is really going on, that like the 5 whys. Why is this happening? What is really happening? Are we sure that's what's happening? What could we try? And this is where it takes a little bravery and courage on the HR and people front when you're with your leadership team, that you're actually saying, I'm not going to have the answer here. What if you and me, we start talking about what are the opportunities here? What could we try? What's that one small best move? And that adds up over time as a trusted strategic leader. And so that to me is like what the signal loop is really kind of just, that's the muscle that it's building, is how to have that type of mindset and approach.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a powerful shift from what's wrong, because we're already labeling something as wrong.
Yeah.
Like there's power when we just even look at that. What's wrong? We've already now moved in a conversation with someone who's coming to us and labeling it for them as wrong. They may not even have used that word. We may be even just putting it there. It's like with the resistance, right? It's and labeling it as bad. It already takes us down a pathway that is hard to come back from. And so our word choice, even in here with possibility, what's really going on? We remain curious. Curiosity is so key here. And being curious is not something that we're born with. It is a skill set. And so even like the question, so much, I love it. People come to us with so much emotion because they're responding to something that's come up in their day. And often the word choice that leaders are using are emotion versus observable behaviors. And so that what's really going on is getting to the observable behavior versus the emotion that the manager is feeling. And so it's also like, what led you to feel that way? I'm feeling, I'm sensing in your word choice, you use like, you're angry. That's a big emotion. Like what are the specifics that led you to feel angry?
Yep. And to the point, like the emotion and the person, right?
Yes.
So many times you hit the nail on the head. The person comes as the descriptor for the problem.
Yeah.
But where we take a step back with this is the person might be the carrier of the problem, not necessarily the problem itself. Yes. So if you step back and you look at the question of, going from whose fault is it, is what was the situation that created the environment that led that individual to walk down that path? And I think that's really powerful in getting down to the root cause.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is like one of like the key things that came out of our first cohort was like, oh, wow, possibility. And that powerful reframe of just that and I also find that, when we start talking about problems, we start venting and then we get stuck in this venting loop that it may feel better for a moment. It may feel better for a moment, but it's not moving us forward.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what the loop does. Like, it seems like an oxymoron because you don't want to be stuck in an indecisive loop, but the loop is a way to help take that possibility, have that curiosity, and then move it forward in a way that's digestible and not completely slamming your entire week.
Yes. Yes. And I know one thing I hate about LinkedIn Live is that we can't see who's out there. And I'm like dropping these questions. And, hey, you know what? Maybe no one's out there. Lindsay and Esther were out there for a moment. But we know in HR how people can get pulled away from their desk. And so that's why we're recording this. So we're really passionate about the work that led to this moment. But if you are out there listening and you have a chance to type in a question or a comment, definitely let us know, because I think we might have some time here to actually take some real heat that you're feeling in your organizations and walk with you through it, the signal loop. So I just wanted to invite people again, because I still look like I am hitting my head on a mic. I love that our launch day, I look like I'm frozen. This is like, I need signal. I need signal to help me get unfrozen. I'm stuck right now, people. So, all right. Marnie, what's next for us?
Okay. Well, so let's talk about, how people can take the loop with them. Maybe today's not the day where they want to go through live, and maybe you and I can go through an example at the end too, just to run through an experience. But for those of you who want to take it, feel it, work with it, you can take the loop with you, right? Oh, bye, Michelle. It was so good to see you.
Bye, Michelle. See, there's people out there. They're out there.
And so the e-workbook is built and grounded as an AI project, as your signal coach. So we will share the link in the comments. I think it's also in the description, but there's a landing page where you can download a free worksheet, and that free worksheet is going to walk you through step-by-step a signal loop scenario. And all it does is just give you the space to walk through it in your own time. If it takes you longer than 10 minutes, well, then you're probably going to want to go with the signal guidebook. And that's a $35 investment. And why? Because it gives you an AI coach with it, which is really cool. Mindy built that herself, which is awesome. And that's going to help you, that's going to be your ongoing tool and resource, and something that you can share with your team.
So here, this one, I just want to take a minute on this one, because with the e-workbook, sometimes you hear e-workbook, oh my goodness, seriously? There's a worksheet that you can download. But seriously, guys, the e-workbook is where the magic happens. It is really that the templates, the distilled down, and it really walks you through building this muscle, because this is a muscle and a shift that's going to really help you take this and learn how to bring it into your work, but also into even your personal life. I use Signal in my personal life as well. And the AI coach here, just to help explain, what does that mean? It is a set of instructions that you can use within your LLM of choice. Let's say Claude Project or Gemini Gems. You ground the project with the workbook, and you use the instructions as a starting point to create your project coach, and it will take you through questions that help you where you need to be. So it's going to help if you're at S and you're in Signal, it's going to help you walk through everything that's in the workbook. It'll take you through a series of questions. It'll help make you stop. If you're in such overwhelm, you're like, I don't even know what to ask right now. Well, that's what the Signal coach is there for. It's going to help you start to generate and ideate and be a thought partner. And let's say you're not in HR. Let's say you're an IT leader. Well, then review the instructions and ask Claude, hey, I've got this awesome workbook with Signal, but I'm an IT leader. I'm not an HR person. I need this coach to help me with my IT leadership in this organization. How would you change the set of instructions to be even better to align with me? So the instructions are a starting point. This is helping us get curious about how to use AI to augment in our work, not to take the human away, but how to, help take us a step further. So that's all a part of it. And I think, we are really passionate here about equipping and about coming alongside to elevate. And so that's why it was really important not to just throw another worksheet or workbook out there, but to really create something that comes alongside of you to partner with you in this, because we're not alone.
Yep. Absolutely. And okay, so I will also mention that too. And by the way, we do workshops, right? And so Mindy, you pointed out.
I guess I teed you up well for this one.
Yeah, you did. I'm happy you did. So
you're picking up what I threw down.
You threw it up, and I'm just gonna smack it down. but we do one-on-ones. We do workshops. We come into your organizations. We'll do live events, virtual and in person, in the right times. But even if you just want to talk through it, we do working sessions of just you and you're wanting to walk through a signal loop on your own. We offer that as well. So go to our landing page. There's ways to connect with us there. And also just want to mention too, yes, and Mindy, to what you said, as far as this is for leadership teams too. We actually, because we're getting such good response from general leaders, we have a signal workbook for leadership teams. We have a signal workshop for leadership teams that we'll be rolling out here live shortly in a couple weeks. But if you're interested in that, bringing us into your leadership team as well, we have that available as well.
Which, I think is really exciting because it creates a opportunity to create a bridge between our people function to the rest of the organization. Because as people leaders, we're involved. We're one of the few roles that is involved in all areas of the organization. And this is such a great, instead of, let's just take a step back here for a moment, because what you said, Marnie, earlier was so important. Often I have people come to me like, hey, are you trained in radical candor? And are you certified for that? And I'm like, no, but help me understand, what is it that you're trying to solve for? Help me understand, what is the outcome you're looking for from this? And they're like, oh, no. I just need radical candor. But it's often, when you tear it back, it's radical candor. Yes, it could help, but there's something uniquely underneath that it's about, how is this team walking through together and connected and aligned to step through how they're, looking at how work gets done, and how do we start to really create the right dialogue that is not just running people in cycles and mandates and transactional activities, but really moving them through a place of iterative change, which really requires leaning in uncertainty, with a frame of reference like signal that helps us be able to be curious, to be uncomfortable, and have the right conversations to be curious and seek to understand, that helps us learn together and helps us fail and learn in a way that creates progress.
Yeah. Yep. That's a perfect way to surmise it. It's literally, it's taking the things that we preach and bringing it to action. We hear it all the time. We know we're all skilled here, but it's helping us create forward motion. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we do this, Marnie, me and you, we do signal. Signal literally birth signal.
Yeah. Seriously. That was that was a good problem statement, right? To have a business statement is literally, so we had a community. The community was going well. People were like, we like what you're doing, but it wasn't bringing engagement like we had hoped. So we were feeling heat. We're feeling like there's something there underneath the surface. We're talking about some of these items. We're sharing with each other, but it's still not moving the needle to the point that Mindy and I were hoping for. So feeling from some of that heat, just of what was going on in the community, we didn't know that we were going to come up with an entire framework. But what we did know was what we had was not quite moving forward the way we had hoped. And that's where we got really curious, and we started working together about, okay, well, let's get back to center. What are we really trying to solve for here? What is some of the feedback we're receiving? We went through the signal, we investigated, we came up with a hypothesis of like, look, we need something that people can actually learn and take with them. And it's a skill building, right? That's what we wanted to do, was build skills and move forward. Yes. So then we created that hypothesis. We walked around with it. We came up with just a quick framework, and then we went out and we engaged stakeholders. We said, hey, what do you think about this? Mindy, you went to
running
remote and did a workshop on the signal loop. All we had at that time was a one-page worksheet. And we were like, let's throw it out there, see what people think. And we got amazing feedback. So that to me is a great business thing that wasn't an HR thing. It was a alt HR Hive business strategy thing that was birthed from going through the loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was what brought us to today.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we'll take this and we'll go through L and we'll learn and we'll loop again. And, it's just, that's the loop in action.
Yeah. I mean, this LinkedIn Live had the most registrants of anything we've done so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is great.
Super interesting. And yet the kind of the same number of people that usually would be, I think at the most it was 5. Which, when we were doing when we were doing the other LinkedIn Lives, it was about the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm really curious about, is really what was it about the description that got people to register and sign up and say, yes, I want to pay attention to that. And what is going to keep people does this assist with what they were hoping to get from hitting register?
Yeah. Yeah. And what is the friction for showing up? Because we've seen that over and over again from being able to show up. Or is it just common practice now to, we're real time, going through and having conversation here with Signal, which I love. It's, what I'm curious about is because it is such a common behavior now. I do it myself. I register because I want the recording.
Yep. Yeah.
And we moved to a podcast because we were doing in our community, we were doing regular coaching, live learning sessions. And because of the registrants versus applicants, people attending, not applicants, people attending and the engagement and people having to drop off because let's say this job is hard and things just would keep coming up. And so we read the room and we got information. And so it turned into some LinkedIn Lives to test it, which we also got the feedback, right? But then it became a podcast. I mean, that's how the shift was born. And now, you can see people are listening to the shift and having great conversations afterwards. It's like they want to consume in small bite size at the time that they can consume it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, even you see with reels and the consumption is and that's the point, right? It's sometimes you have to put in the time and the data and the information, but it's consumed in a way that the output is not the same as the input. Does that make sense?
Yes. So this reel would be interesting. The AI clips from these will be very fascinating because my face is stuck. But you know what? I'm just being brave. I don't care. I love that it's stuck because it's our true. We living this. We are truly messy. You and I are not. We're never perfected. It's progress, and we always leave elevated, Marnie. I always leave elevated with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just there's no way, even entering into a room, with you and I, I always enter better than I was. Heading into it. So I'm exiting this room better than I entered. This was a good conversation.
It was.
If you're listening to the recording, if you made it this long, you're not watching a reel and you want information, you want I was expecting X, Y, and Z, let us know. Give us the feedback. Help us loop for forward progress.
We need you. We need to let you know. So if you're watching this or listening and you're on LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram, because we have Instagram now with reels, mention it in the comments below. We get those. That's important to us. And we need your data points. That's all feedback is input. In one company, I changed our process. We stopped calling it feedback. We started to use input, and it actually changed. It changed people's behavior because this is just input. It's just data points. And so we need your input to be able to make this signal into whatever it becomes next.
Yep. Do you want to throw out any topic examples for signal loop, just to leave them with a little gift of benefits, enrollment, just start listing some out, leave events.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, benefits enrollment is huge, right? I often feel like we like marry our benefit brokers and we never actually put the rigor of really evaluating them or success measures on them. Lovely, lovely, but we really should use Signal with our benefit brokers. Are we fully utilizing them? Are there other things that we could be doing with them that they're not doing today? How do they compare with? I mean, there's new benefit programs coming out all the time. When was the last time we did an RFP? Like when was the last time we even talked to our employees? What are the employee demographics for our open enrollment? What are they utilizing? What are they not utilizing? How many preventative services do we have in order to help reduce claims? Because all we know is that benefits are going to cost more and more. I mean, I could go on. So yes, open enrollment and benefits is huge.
Yeah.
Another one is your AI. Everyone has some level of AI mandate right now. Well, how do we shift the AI mandate to actually be a conversation?
Yes.
And so I think that's a whole area. Also in our organizations, we are now locked into layoffs becoming just a normal practice. As Marnie, the other day, someone said, oh my goodness, there's this amazing technology that's being developed. It's this AI that will help you lay off people. The AI will have the conversation for you so that you'll make sure that it's consistent and the message is given. Can you imagine being laid off by AI? I mean, that's how laying off now is just part of our existence now in companies. I had a bodily reaction to that, but pros and cons. I just it goes back to, wow, well, why is it that way? What could we do differently? How could that look differently? I think Signal would be perfect there. How do we even get to a point where layoffs is not just another way to do work?
Yes. Yeah, love that. Or if you have a coworker that came to you with that technology and they're like, hey, I think this is going to help us. There's that mindset of oh, that's interesting. Let's talk about why was this brought up? What problem are we solving for? So I love all of that.
So the other one would be, if you watched our podcast with David Burse and you need to do a shit assessment, Signal would be the great at being able to see where is all the shit happening right now in your company. And also where are the human skills in your organization? Because it's a deficit. I have very few companies I've seen humanity be strong.
Yep.
And if it is strong, how do we make it stronger? I would love, if you actually have a strong humanity skill organization, please tell us, because we would love to recognize the few that are out there. And now I'm probably sounding very jaded because I have not seen very many recently.
No, I'm with you. So humanity skills deficit. Let's talk about that in our next shift podcast, I think.
Yeah, I think 100%. Because the need for connectedness right now is huge.
Mindy, we are up on time.
We are. And I love it. Marnie, so appreciate you. You're such an incredible human. Thank you so much for all that you bring.
Right back at you, buddy. All right. Thank you all for listening, watching, supporting.
Yes, thanks.
Love you all.
Bye.